Hey friends, and welcome to Big Crystal Energy. Before we dive into this episode, I want to take a moment to set the vibe because this one feels really special. First of all, we are officially in Pride Month, and I am so honored to feature today's guest, Todd Bass, a brilliant and twistedly magical mind behind Toddities Animal Preservation, an LGBTQ-owned business and true safe space in the world of weird art and oddities. Here on Big Crystal Energy, everyone is welcome. This is a podcast for the beautifully diverse, the spiritually curious, the misfits, the mystics, and everyone in between. This episode is also airing on Friday the 13th. I mean, could there be a more perfect release date? The moon was full just 2 days ago on June 11th, and the energy right now is thick with transformation, magic, and a little bit of mystery. The perfect vibe for today's conversation. Now, I have something to share that's very special. Finding Todd and his work, especially the character Madame Lydia, one of his mystical reptilian creations, has truly changed my life. There was something about her, about the spirit of what Todd creates, that just cracked something open for me. And I have fully decided that Madame Lydia is now the official spirit guide of this podcast. She is here with us in all her occult reptile glory, helping to guide this show deeper into the shadows, into the sacred, into the weird, and the wonderful. So settle in, light a candle, hold your weird little talisman, and prepare to meet the man behind the mummies, the lizards, and the magic. This episode is truly one of my favorites. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Ashleigh, and welcome to the Big Crystal Energy Podcast. This is a place for the crystal curious, arcane-minded, and everything in the in-between. In this podcast, we will jump down the rabbit hole into the metaphysical, esoteric, occult, and spiritual realms. Nothing is off limits. I'm a mom, wife, an orthopedic physician assistant by day, and a seeker of all things spooky and kooky by night. I've spent my entire career in the medical field, but have always felt like there's more out there, and this is where we will explore together. We will have conversations with crystal healers, rock hounds, artists, musicians, spiritual coaches, magic makers, and anything woo-woo that strikes our fancy. Let's take our spiritual journey to the next level. So grab a crystal, pour a cup of tea. It's time to feel the Big Crystal Energy. Hello, and welcome back to the Big Crystal Energy Podcast. I'm here today, and I am thrilled to welcome Todd Bass, the creative mind behind Oddities, a magical, macabre world of anthropomorphic mummy dioramas, mystical lizards, and one-of-a-kind oddities. Based in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Todd combines his lifelong love of animals, old curiosities, and a sense of humor into his art, crafting tiny preserved reptilian characters like fortune tellers. Oddities is a celebration of the weird, the wonderful, and the woo-woo, all done ethically, respectfully, and with a deep love for science, art, and community. We're diving into how Todd got started in this unique world, the spiritual inspiration behind his work, the magic of crystals and curiosities, and what it takes to create these amazing little preserved worlds. Welcome, Todd, to the Unhinged, the Crystal Energy Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I'm so excited to have you here. So sometimes the Instagram algorithm knows us better than we even know ourselves. So I'm honestly not really sure how your page came into my world, but it did. And instantly I was transfixed. I was like, what are these little creatures? How does this lizard already know me so well? And the best thing is, for my listeners, you have to check out his Instagram page because these little creatures, these little lizards, have the most hilarious voices and sound captions associated with them. They are absolutely perfect, absolutely hysterical. I have been sharing these videos nonstop with all my friends, all my coworkers. I'm not really sure they get it, but I don't care. And yes, I am just, So when I saw this and then I got on his Etsy page and I saw what would you call it? It's like a room. What would you say? She's in a room?
Box.
Yeah. So she's in like a little box, Madame Lydia, and that's what I named her. And I'm going to pick her up but yes, she's in this little box and she's just, she's just fabulous. She's just fabulous. And when I saw this, I knew that I must have it. I was like, okay, I can probably go ahead and feel comfortable selling one kidney to afford to buy her. I have to keep my other one, but I could probably afford to sell one kidney. So I did not end up having to do that. But yes, so now she's mine. But Todd, how does one even get into this? Tell us about you. I want to know about you.
Well, so I actually did political work in 2020,
Political work?
political organizing.
Wow.
I worked on campaigns, and towards the end of that, towards the end of 2020, I was actually going to school for political science and everything. Like that was my career path. Then we 360. So in the fall of 2020, I guess after that seasonal job had kind of ended, I started to tap into like my weird side, I guess. Well, I've always been weird, but next step level stuff.
I understand that.
Right. So I grew up around some taxidermy, and my dad was a hunter, so I was used to like the drawn deer, all split open and
Me too.
Yeah, right.
100%. I'd walk out into the garage after my dad had gone hunting, and there would be like this split open deer carcass just hanging from the rafters in the garage.
I was mortified as a kid, right?
I'm vegetarian now.
Right. So I actually started to like, I don't know, I was trying to find like, I don't know, it was a crazy time, right? 2020. So I was trying to find like, I don't know, some meaning and some like joy. So I actually started collecting crystals first. And then with that, taxidermy exposure, I was like, well, I want to get some bones and some skulls and like put them with my crystals. And so I started buying some stuff, and I ended up making my way to Lombard, Illinois, to Bob James Magic and Curiosities. And there's taxidermy, there's like the wet specimens in the jars. And I seen that, and I think instantly I was like, man, this is incredible, And once I learned that, people aren't out here like mass murdering animals, like they come from, they just kind of die, breeders, rescues, such like stuff like that. And I was like, man, I really want to try to do this. So after collecting a bunch of wet specimens, skulls, crystals, all that stuff, that was 6 months later, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to make this, I'm going to throw the politics behind me and try to do something that brings me a little more personal joy and a little more, feels more rewarding.
Did you always have a creative side?
No. I've never really been like, well, I've always thought different art was cool, but never really like collected anything or anything like that. I think my favorite art form was music. So love listening to music, love singing by myself in my room. So it was a little bit of a rough start. A lot of my early pieces look nothing like they do now. But no, I never really was like a creative. My siblings, my sister, one of my other sisters, they were always into painting, drawing, stuff like that. But
I mean, because this is talent. Like that talent to do this was within you. I mean, because the intricacy of this is not something that, not just anyone could do this. And to work with these miniature little pieces and putting it all together, that really, I'm sure it took some time to get this down.
Yeah, it was a real learning curve. And I had some guidance from some people in like the Oddities Facebook groups and stuff on how to do certain things. So I kind of applied that to what I guess you would, I don't know, maybe common sense of like, oh, well, you could try to do this instead, because yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. I did not just start doing this and put together these awesome dioramas right off of the bat. A lot of my early stuff was just wet specimens. So I did a lot of the formalin, formaldehyde solution preserved, like animals in jars stored in alcohol. And then I started to see, like the little mice with, stripper mice and like little cowboy chipmunks and stuff. And I was like, man, but I'm a reptile guy. So I was like, how come I'm not seeing, I don't see lizards and stripper lizards or shut out for strippers. Or, I didn't see cowboy lizards and stuff. So I'm like, what if I, try to do that?
I mean, obviously, that is what one would think.
Right. Most logical.
I mean, that's like the most logical direction that you would go in. Like, we need to make a stripper lizard, clearly.
Yeah, we have all these little rodents and like raccoons eating candy and, all this stuff. But where are the lizards?
So you must have always liked reptiles?
Yes, I love reptiles.
Okay. You must in order to be wondering where the reptiles are. So, oh my gosh, this is so funny. So you said that your first were wet specimens, but what was the first creation like this that you made?
I think I did 2 at once, and one was just little rabbit kits, and they were dried out, and they weren't like as visually appealing. But it was a little iguana, and I don't even think I had started putting eyes in them yet. So he was just like leaned back in the chair, and it was kind of like I don't know, I guess like the witchy kind of hoodoo man vibe. He had a little top hat. He was like had a cane and he was in a chair, but no eyeballs. So they were just dried shut eyelids.
Oh my gosh, you must have too much fun.
Yeah, it is a lot. It can be stressful. It really can be stressful. But it once they're done and I look at them, I'm like, this is incredible.
Is it stressful in the sense that it's just hard to like get everything just the right way?
Yeah. Because it's not forgiving, So I will, you do the whole preservation method. So you have to gut them and then basically have some type of alcohol or formaldehyde solution and then dry them. So you have to pose them before you dry them because they're, they get stiff. So there's not a whole lot of movement that can happen afterwards. So it's really hard because, right, it's unforgiving. So if you pose, say you put the arm here, and when it dries, the arm is here.
That's what you're stuck with.
Right. So then you have to work with it.
So you really have to have the whole vision set before you start, to some degree.
Yeah.
Now, I know, so, I mean, just a quick question. I mean, because I see that a lot of your particular specimens have a affinity for crystal balls and, I mean, are you into that kind of stuff yourself, or how did you kind of decide to go down that route?
I think spiritually, I don't really know what I believe. I do believe that everything is energy, right? And that you can't get rid of energy. Right. I mean, that's based in science as well, right? Yes. So I don't know what I really love blues music. And a lot of blues music, especially really old blues music, has lots of like hoodoo and voodoo touches to it. Yes. So that's where I get the hoodoo ladies from, is that I don't know, I love that music and it captivates me and it really tells a story. And I don't want to say easy, but it makes it easier to envision like what you would think of this woman to be like and what her like table would look like. But spiritually, me personally, I don't know what I believe.
I mean, I think we're all just trying to figure it out, right? I mean, at the end of the day, there's no one right way to be or think or believe. But when I saw these little ladies and their characters, I could, now that you mention the music, I can really get behind it. So now I'm like, okay, when I spend time with Madame Lydia, I'm really going to put on some blues and we're just going to have like a jam session here. And we're going to I feel like she's kind of my, I don't like the word spirit guide necessarily, but I feel like she's my spiritual advisor, you know, because I like tarot. She likes tarot. I like a crystal ball. She's got her crystal ball. She literally has all the elements that I need and want in life. And, I grew up with lots of, I grew up in Nebraska. So you're in Wisconsin. That's, in the proximity there. I mean, I grew up with a dad that's a big hunter. He even went to Africa. We have a stuffed lion in our house, like a full lion. I mean, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it is incredible. We have a stuffed zebra, kudu. I mean, like big stuff at my dad's house. So honestly, I never really thought that I would be interested in any type of taxidermy, and I can't say that I'm necessarily super interested in other taxidermy, but this is unlike anything because this has like a whole world and a whole energy of it. It's not just like something that you just slap on your wall. Like this has a story.
Yeah, I love to, that's what makes it fun, right? Is, you take a lizard and they're from rescues, breeders, stuff like that. So that they really didn't have the life that they deserved. And a lot of those places are struggling financially, so they can't, take the time to individually cremate or individually bury every single one. So a lot of them were very excited for me to reach out to them, because they were like, oh my God, yeah, give them a new life. So it brings me a lot of joy to know that these, a lot of these were unwanted or wanted, but not cared for properly. And now I'm able to give them a story and craft their own little world. And then people name them, right? Lydia. So it's just, now she has like what she didn't have in life.
And she has a cigarette, and she probably didn't have that in real life either.
No, she did.
So, okay. So you kind of taught yourself this, or did you do any kind of training to learn how to do this?
I just kind of taught myself through the guidance of the Facebook group and maybe some advice from a couple people. But it was a learning curve, because the early pieces, I wasn't always posing them as eloquently as I do now. They were just kind of laying there or kind of janky, so it was a lot of failed projects. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, but it mostly just myself and then some guidance from some other people.
Wow. So let's say, okay, so for example, I have this, you sent me this photograph, and what would you call this? Would you say this is a voodoo lady, or what would you consider her?
Usually the big like dioramas like that with those ladies, I always just like, in my mind, are all voodoo ladies. Voodoo queens, like very New Orleans, Louisiana, Arkansas kind of energy.
So how long would a piece like this piece, like how long would that take to make?
From start, there's a lot of touch and go, but from start to finish, a couple weeks.
Wow.
Usually.
So a bigger piece like what I have really takes some time.
Right. Especially when you're thinking about just the thought process of time. So that piece probably, with the thought process, in addition to the regular processing and then the assembling, probably took me, trying to remember, at least a month or so to know what I wanted to do and get the right pieces for it.
Is it hard for you to let your creations go? I mean, is it hard for you to sell a piece like the bigger piece that I bought, to let it go?
Yeah, sometimes it can be, because with me and Lydia, we were hanging out for a little while there. So when I got rid of her, I'm like, oh man. But of course, you always post her, so I still get to see her.
You're going to see her all the time. She's my spiritual advisor. So she's going to be, she's going to be on the gram bossing us around for the rest of eternity. She's like, she's now my official podcast. Basically, she's the podcast mascot. So
it can be a little difficult. Some of them I don't mind. I'm like, all right, go ahead, go to your home. But sometimes when I don't know, it really put my energy into it. And I really like, the mob wives are really hard to let go with the fur cults because I just adore them. But I know that they're going to people who are oftentimes, because I don't really name them, but people do. So they're going to people who can actually take that time to, I guess, care for them,
Do you ever, is it ever hard to let them go because the person that is buying it, just you don't get a good vibe from them? Or do you mostly get like a fun energy from the people that want to buy these things? As long as if you're buying them from like a in-person event rather than online. Online, obviously you weren't really going to know.
Some people online, like you, do reach out and talk to me, and it's usually always positive. I always feel good about it. And in person, I think it feels good too. I never really have anybody who buys it that I'm like, well, they kind of, I didn't like the energy. They're always super ecstatic, super friendly, super excited. And that makes me feel the same way.
You've gotten, I would say, like a pretty good following online of people that love this kind of stuff. So there's got to be, there's a niche audience for the people out there that, there's a whole oddities audience, right? And I really didn't even realize all that until I started kind of going down that rabbit hole. And I was like, wow, there's a whole world out there that I wasn't exploring. And now I'm like I'm all in.
Yeah. There's the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, a huge expo. I want to say over 30-ish U.S. cities. They go to Canada. They've expanded now to Australia. Oh my gosh. And thousands of people come to those. They're widely attended. They're great events. So many other great artists are there too. And the first time I did that show, I was really mind blown just how many people really love this stuff. Because my social media up until December, I did not have the following that I have now. I think it was sitting at like 4,000 or 5,000 on Instagram, and it's been almost 4 years. So it was like a slow tread. And I think the mob wives is what kind of
send it over the top, huh? Oh my gosh, I could see that. Yeah, I was well, you said you mostly go to the oddity fairs closer to where you are. I could imagine it would be very challenging to try to travel with this stuff too far.
Yeah, and some people do travel far, so I don't drive, actually.
You don't drive?
So, no, I don't. So if I did, I'd be more ambitious to be like, yeah, let me take a 20-hour drive. But I usually try to keep it, like I did Kansas City last year. That's about 8 hours from me in Kenosha. And I think that's, at least for the couple years coming, that's as far as we'll venture out. I get a lot of help from my sister. I get a lot of help from my friend Brittany. Because I can do everything else except for driving, right?
All right. Yeah. I love that you have people that, I think that you have your sister that supports you, have a friend that supports you, because it's kind of something different that most people might be thinking, Todd, what in the world are you doing? But obviously it's working.
I did get a lot of the Todd, what the hell are you doing? This is not from my sister. My sister's always been, she's just as weird as I am. She's always been supportive. I remember when we were kids, we would like go camping, and she would be the one to like pick dry dead frogs up off the road, or she pulled a nail off of a dead snapper. And I'm just in the back like, ew, So now full circle, I'm the one with the dead animals and she's the support.
But I think like one of the things that one of my real big things with my podcast is that I love talking with people that have like these connections. They're kind of able to incorporate these things that maybe they liked when they were younger, or that maybe they were interested in, but it was kind of ew. And then now it's like come full circle and it's like this whole thing. I think that is so fascinating, because I know there was a time when I was just kind of feeling stuck in my life. You know, I have a career, I work as an orthopedic physician assistant, I have like a big job and all this stuff, but I felt kind of stuck because I've been doing it forever and it was kind of just getting routine. And I was listening to something and they were saying, like, think back on the things that you enjoyed when you were younger, when you were a child, or the things that attracted your interest, and, you know, see if you can make something out of that. And so, I mean, hence all of this, because this has really been me since the get-go, but I just put it all on the back burner because it's like, this is not necessarily accepted in the mainstream. So I have to have like a regular job and a regular life. But now it's like, now I'm old and it doesn't matter and I can do whatever the hell I want and I can still work and I can still do things on the side. So hence now I can just be like a kooky, spooky, you know, Madame Lydia's sister over here. And, you know, it all comes full circle. So I totally get that. So now, okay, when you're doing this, are you usually just working on one project at a time or do you have like several going at the same time?
Usually have several going at the same time. I think with my capacity, I can just do about 8 to 10 at a time, depending on the size. And it used to be where I just have 4 at a time. So it definitely was a little difficult to take that brain space and focusing on 4 to then basically doubling that, to think like, oh my God, well, this one is that, and this one is that. But I think I've been doing like more processing and it's been about a year or almost 2 maybe. And I think I've gotten the hang of it. So it's always multiple projects at a time.
I mean, and I feel like these things sell pretty well. I mean, you're always releasing new ones. And, you know, when I was looking at your Etsy, you're like, this one sold, this one sold, this one sold. And I was, wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I'm happy that these little creatures sell so easily for you.
Yeah. And it wasn't always like that. Right. So I think probably the past 6 months, maybe a little more with the social media increase, that has really helped. I took the leap to get on TikTok, which I'm not like a huge TikTok, like I wasn't a huge TikTok fan, but Facebook basically like they out.
Was that right?
Yeah. So like I wasn't getting engagement there anymore. And that was where I was selling them the most. So I'm like, well, what do I do now? Take the leap to go to TikTok. And I think that leap kind of helped like ricochet back to Instagram, because I had my link in there or whatever. But before, I mean, when I first started in the first couple of years, it would be like I'd make a couple pieces and then I hope they sell so that I can make, so I'm able to make a couple more. Whereas now it's, you know, I can't keep the Etsy shop stocked.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so so you had said that you get a lot of your voiceovers for your character from TikTok. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
So how do you find these? Like, I don't use TikTok really. I mean, I have an account and I have probably like 5 very basic posts on there. I really don't even know how to make a TikTok. How do you find the voices?
Well, I had to start using the app, right? So sometimes I'll do a lot of scrolling, literally just looking for, you know, like a good voice. And then sometimes I'll find somebody like Tanya Howell, is really funny. She's got that English accent and she's got like the one-liners. So I'm like, oh, this woman is amazing. Like, it's just perfect. This is the vibe that I'm looking for. Or things that I already knew about, like for the Mob Wives. I love Big Ange, loved her so much. She was just amazing, a hilarious woman. And then also Drita from Mob Wives. I love them both. Big Ange just passed in 2016. But so then I went on TikTok and I specifically searched like for those clips that I had remembered, so I'm like, I got to find this. I remember her saying whatever, and I need that on this list.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I have something you need to hear. Have you been feeling a shift, a pull towards something more? Whether you're manifesting new opportunities, confidence, or a major glow up, the universe is listening, and I've got just the thing. In a crystal clarity call, I'll intuitively select 3 crystals to support your manifestations, pull a tarot or oracle card for deeper guidance, and craft custom journal prompts to help you take action. It's more than a reading, it's an energetic roadmap. So if you're ready to align with your highest self, DM me on Instagram at mystical.mama.ash for details and pricing. Let's bring your magic to life. Wow, yeah, because I don't even know how to. I mean, because I'm thinking for myself, like in the future when I make little videos of Madame Lydia, where am I going to get her voice? So this is all I'm just learning from you. Okay, this is how I'm going to get her voice for her character. Otherwise, I'm going to be making up her voice, and it's going to sound kind of too scary.
I feel like other people are better at the time. I mean, sometimes I'll just record like a couple of them. I think it was just me. I'm a cigarette smoker, obviously, if you can see my work. Um, so in the morning, I'll like take a little voice recording over and just like try to get the nastiest cough. Because that's when it's the best. It's right in the morning, right?
So good. Yeah.
So,
Gotta love a good morning smoker's cough.
right. So you just dramatize it a little bit. But I mean, sometimes I'll just search TikTok for old lady and then I'll go through some old ladies and then, go save that audio. I'm like, oh, that's good. Save that for later.
I mean, it's just creative.
Will send me something.
It's so creative. It must be. I realized, as I've gotten older, it's really important to have a creative outlet. I think I'd never really allowed myself to have much of a creative outlet for a lot of years because I just was working and being a mom and doing the things. And then I realized that having a creative outlet has allowed me to really step into who I am as a person. And then it also just like makes me happy in general, right? So you get that joy from like the creation of something. Like my creation is not in any way like your creation, but it's like bringing all these things together for me feels very it's just really inspiring, honestly, to see people just like go after these crazy kooky things. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up with really bad anxiety, depression. My dad had passed when I was 7. I had a drug issue through my teens until my I guess, the very beginning of my 20s. So yeah, I kind of suppressed anything that was a creative outlet to myself, besides a few friends. So this has really helped me to kind of hone in on who I am and, doing the vending shows with a lot of people, kind of your exposure therapy, right? You just put yourself in these situations that are uncomfortable. Uh, of course, I wouldn't have been able to, like, not everybody can do that. I have a wonderful support system uh, that allowed me to do that. But it really does make you feel great that you can kind of become yourself, right?
Think that, yeah, and I think it's really, I like for listeners to hear that because, even for me, I always really thought of myself as really introverted, but I wanted something more for myself and more for my life. And so I thought to myself, like, I'm really going to have to dig deep and I'm going to have to put myself out there in a different way. And I'm going to have to muster up the courage, number one, to ask people to come on the podcast. And number two, like just have the courage to even do interviews because I never did that before. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it makes me more confident, like in my life overall. And I feel so much more confident, like going out just in general, because it's just that exposure, like you said, exposure therapy. And it's really good.
Yeah, it makes all the difference that if you're like, well, especially if you've had mental health issues or drug issues, which I was blessed enough to have both, um, to be able to have something to replace that, because that's really ultimately what you're doing is filling in the void of trauma or, disgust with yourself or whatever it may be. And now you can replace that now with something that you really love. And if you do suffer from anxiety, exposure therapy, right, is really important. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And I told you, I was like, I was a little hesitant because, the anxiety is always going to be there. I'll die with it. But I'm like, this seems like a fun opportunity. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have told you hell no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not too scary. I mean, I came in with a turban and Madame Lydia jewelry. But I mean, I appreciate that, I mean, I have struggles with anxiety and depression. And, honestly, I started my morning going to therapy. So, I get it. We all have our struggles, and we all have our different ways of like managing our, just managing our stresses and anxieties and depressions. And, you know, people can, a lot of times people can look at us and like what we're doing as far as our online world or our creativity and think like, oh, well, that person, they're doing this, that, so they must not really suffer from these types of things. But actually, that's not true at all.
Right. People who know me and like for a long time in my personal life are just like mind blown at the things that I do now. And I'm like, I don't know. If you told me I was going to do this, 5-10 years ago, I would have laughed so hard in your face. But I don't know, when you are able to do something that you really enjoy, right? Like baking oddities. So what's the biggest thing you could do besides maybe owning a storefront is the Oddities and Curiosities Expo. It's an amazing event. But you got to talk to a lot of people.
Yes, you do. I can imagine. I'm going to try to go. They have one in San Jose in the summer. I'm gonna go to that one. I can't wait because there's some other vendors there that I really want to communicate with, and I'm hoping that I can convince them that maybe they also want to come on the podcast in different ways. Like there's a particular artist that I wouldn't say that her stuff is really that odd, but she's kind of more in the witchy realm, and I just find her artwork absolutely incredible, and I would love to have her come on. I just think having a conversation with her would be fascinating, and just to see all the different things that people do and the creativity that's out there, it's really good. And I think it's just really interesting to see all the different things, because I think a lot of times we are in our daily routines and we're not even really realizing all the different things that people are into.
Yeah, you'll see the witchy stuff. You'll see traditional art. You see traditional taxidermy, anthropomorphic taxidermy, just little bone bags. It's really the full spectrum of, oddities is a very blanketed term, right? So you'll see all this wonderful stuff, and everybody there is great. So I'm sure you could snag somebody on your show.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So now, when you use the term anthropomorphic, does that mean like? What does that means? Like they're already like obviously dead, or
things that like humans would do. So it's like an animal doing like something that a person would do.
Oh, I see. Got it. Because I don't imagine
definition. I don't know if that's the dictionary definition, but I'm pretty sure it's like doing a human activity.
Yes, I think you're right. Yes. Because I don't really see your type of taxidermy at the same type of place where you'd be necessarily seeing all the people that do the taxidermy for like the duck dynasty kind of people. You know what I mean? Like probably the stuff like that our dads would have gone to see. It feels very different. Yeah. I don't necessarily see you at one of those places, but maybe you would go. I don't know. Do people that are into traditional taxidermy like the oddity stuff?
Sometimes. Some people think what I do is disrespectful versus the other way, which to me doesn't really make sense. But there's like a crossover of, people who like both or people who don't like either, which is fine too.
Yeah, that's fine too, for sure. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's just so funny to me because I really never, I think now after connecting with your piece, because I don't know why I just have like such a strong affinity for it, but it actually, now I'm kind of reassessing the way that I look at the taxidermy that my dad has at home. And I'm kind of like interested to kind of revisit those pieces and just kind of appreciate them for what they are. And, because eventually I'm an only child. So eventually I'm probably going to be inheriting a lot of the stuff. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with it? A lot of these pieces are quite large, but I don't want it to go to someone else, but but it feels kind of like in some ways, especially with like the lion, it feels kind of like disrespectful that he killed it.
Yeah. And, I don't like hunting. I'm definitely not like how my dad was in that way. So I don't like hunting, don't like poaching. I don't like any of that. I love animals, but they do die. Right. So I don't know. kind of against that stuff. But of course, like one person's ethical is different from somebody else's, right?
Totally true.
Because there's sometimes where I see a piece where I'm like, oh, that was probably, whatever. Somebody probably killed it at some point. And I'm like, it's beautiful. Oh, like, so what do you, it's a really conflicting emotional thing, I think, for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people don't take that step back to think like this person wasn't thinking the same way that I'm thinking. And maybe to them, like that wasn't immoral to do. Right. So in regards to your dad's stuff, I mean, you get it. You put a little hat on, give it some glasses, give him a cigar,
I love it so much. I love that so much. I really do. So is this your full-time job or do you work otherwise?
I think, yeah, it's my full-time job. I have gone back to the political organizing a couple times, but that's usually seasonal. I try to stay kind of active in the community, but this is what I love, and this is like my passion. So, yeah. And I mean, it's a month to month. It's a small business, right? So, I mean, some people think that because my pieces sell for a lot, I'm out here like living on high, which is not the case. And I try to, I make decent profit off of it, but I try to make it like as affordable as humanly possible because I grew up low income. I grew up with food share, energy assistance, single widowed mother, so I try to keep it as reasonable and, with doing that, sell quickly, but I could probably raise the price a little bit. Right. But I don't want to, I want to share it with people. I want people to have it as accessible as possible. And, so, my full-time job.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you think about the amount of time that goes into each piece, not only the time that it takes to physically create it, but the time that it takes to, come up with the idea, and then the time that it takes to photograph it, and then the social media involved with it. I mean, ultimately, yes, maybe it seems like the piece is expensive, but at the end of the day, the amount of time that you're putting into it, you're really not. I mean, if you think about how much you would make in an hour at a job, and then it really, that's what I think about, when people are like, well, how much does something like that cost? I'm like, well, you got to break it down in this kind of way. I mean, it's not, it took a lot of time and effort. If you got paid hourly for your job, the way that with the time that he spent, he's probably not making anywhere near that kind of money off of this, at the end of the day. So,
and some months it is like, it would pay like if I was working. Typical 9 to 5, but some months. And I'm glad you mentioned the photography aspect of it, because I think a lot of people do not realize that takes like a significant amount of time because I'm sure you've seen all of my pieces. I typically try to go for about 10 pictures. And just because I want people to really, I don't want to see something, 2 pictures and then drop $500 on something. That's, to me, I'm like, well, what if I turn it and I hate it? So I really try to make sure that I take care in like getting all these different angles. I got invested in a light box so that I could get like the clear images. So I think a lot of people don't think about that too. So I really appreciate you, French.
Well, I think about it because, one of my previous guests has a rock and mineral shop, but he takes all these photographs of the crystals online, and I'm just like, wow. When I try to take a picture of a crystal, it always just looks like, it looks terrible. And he's like, oh yeah, it takes a lot of time. You got to put the video and you got to get all the angles and the light. And I'm like, yeah, and I appreciate that because I know it's not easy.
Yeah. Angling the lighting, and sometimes the lighting doesn't want to participate.
Sure, of course. I mean, yeah. So I know that there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just a matter of, making the piece and then selling it and then all of a sudden you're rich. So
yeah, most people are like, I don't get a lot of complaints about my prices because if you look out there, there's, I don't want to sound like I'm being like rude towards anybody else, but there's clearly less detail for some pieces that go for as much or more than mine with like a squirrel or a raccoon. And I think they're incredible, but I'm keeping it pretty reasonable, I think.
For sure. I would 100% agree. You guys, my listeners have to, They have to get on there. I've been trying to post your stuff on my social media, and then when our episode is about ready to come out, I will be posting a lot, but I don't have a huge social media posting a social media audience, because I never really, until probably the last maybe 6 months or so, I really never posted that much stuff with regard to my podcast or anything. So it's a slow growing situation, especially because this is kind of a niche type of podcast, and the masses are not really necessarily hoping to hear about crystals and cookies hep all the time.
Rhythm just right. And because I went from, said like 5,000 to 30,000 on Instagram just since December.
That's amazing.
If you would have told me that 8 months ago, I would have been like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But, sometimes it just gets right.
Right. And I don't really know how to work the system. That's the thing. I don't really have the capacity to figure all that out. Some people have like a whole team that helps figure that out for them. And I do have help with the podcast, but not to the point where like they're figuring out all that stuff. So, it is what it is.
Right. Hearing all different things. And I don't know if there's really like a rhyme or reason for things. I think you just have to stay and hope for the best. Yeah. I don't have a teeth. It's just me.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's so awesome. Do you have a favorite piece that you've created?
I have several. I think probably 90% of them. I'll talk about that chameleon scientist. He actually just sold him today, and kind of backtracking. That's a piece that I've had for a minute, and it's kind of like, oh no,
I know which one you're talking about, because I was just looking at that one yesterday. And I was like, gosh, if I had extra, I would get that one too, because it's so cool. And I love I love like a scientist.
Yeah, actually, one of my friends had suggested that I do a scientist with a chameleon. And I was like, all right, Misty, I think you're onto something, because that sounds hilarious. So, that's probably one of my favorites. So Lydia is probably also another one of my favorites. I did another room box, and it was like he was an oddities collector, but he collected like people stuff. So we had all these skulls and spines, a full skeleton, a little fetal skeleton, some wet specimens and stuff in there. Usually it's my more intricate pieces that I really, really love.
Well, you spend a lot of time with them.
Right.
So is there like a dream project or something that you're like kind of, or, that you're kind of wanting to work on?
I've been slowly accumulating the stuff to do like a tattoo shop.
Oh my God. That sounds incredible.
Because I've seen, I see like little mice doing tattoos and stuff. And again, I'm like, where are the lizards? But I think something that like detailed and large, I've been thinking about this for over a year, and I have like, let's say probably half the stuff to do it. And then like I wanted to do a full on like bar scene, which is like pulled from that inspiration of seeing like the squirrel bars and the chipmunk bars and the little like gambling raccoons. But that's again like a huge project. And I also bought a cabin, like I'm talking the whole dollhouse, like it's a 2-story like dollhouse cabin. And I really would love to get that done, but again, it's such a big project. So those are probably 3 that I'm like slowly piecing, like collecting the stuff to make it look the way that I want it to look.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to see when those eventually come out. Is there any like famous figures or like famous people, like a specific person that you ever desired to create after, or do you like to have more of just the general hoodoo ladies and the mob wives? Like, do you like it to be more of a general theme?
I think it's typically more of a general theme. My friends could tell you they recommend like, oh, you should do this all the time, and I'm like, I don't know.
Sure. So everybody's got a recommendation for you, don't they?
Right. And I'm like, I don't really like to do and right, if I did, I bet you I could sell even more and make more money, but that's just not like I like to keep it within my creative.
Yes.
Like obviously the mob wives, like, yeah, those are inspired by like Big Ange and Drita, and even sometimes like people I see at the grocery store. I'm like, that would make a good list.
Yeah. Wow, you see everybody as lizards now. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're like, man,
Little old lady, she's a lizard.
oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, little old lady lizards. I mean, it's really the best. I mean, having them as an old lady is, I mean, I'm looking at her and I'm like, oh, the lipstick, the nails, the hair bun. It's so good. I mean, you've really got it dialed in. I mean,
Yeah, I love the lipstick. The lips, and it's incredibly hard to make lipstick on something that doesn't have conventional lips. That's all.
that it is. And yet it works. It really works. I'm just looking at her and I'm like, oh my gosh. So,
But the first ones that I made like that, not like Lydia, but the dome ones, they didn't like the first couple. I don't think they even had hair. Like, so they were just like lizards with just a shawl covering them. They didn't even have like the full like black dress and everything. They were bald, and no makeup. It's just a shawl, maybe a necklace, and then I think the hoop earrings have been like have been there since the start. But I slowly, I was like, oh, they need lipstick. They need something to really make you believe that that's like what she is.
I mean, these gals have like a sense of fashion. I mean, obviously you must have a sense of fashion. At least, are you a fashion guy?
Not for myself. I think I'm a very basic Midwestern. Put a t-shirt on, give me a plaid or a flannel, like chino pants or joggers. But my sisters actually growing up would always, they'd have, we'd go somewhere and they'd have an outfit on. They'd be like, does this look okay?
You're like, okay.
Well, I would always tell them, I'd be like, oh no, that looks. So I think like, I was always their like fashion guides, like, guess growing up. But me personally, very basic. I guess I'm like an oddity in the oddities community because a lot of people, they have tattoos, they have piercings, uh, they wear really cool clothes. And I'm just like, give me a flannel, t-shirt, some pants. I have no tattoos, no piercings. I think people at the shows often mistake like my sister, because my sister has like dyed hair, like tattoos all over her chest and all over her arm. So she's
Here. You're like, no, it's me.
so she's actually like, oh, it's him.
I love that. I think that's so great that your sister supports you. Is she older or younger than you?
She's older. I have two older sisters. I'm the youngest. She's 3 years older than me, and then the other one is about 5 years older than me.
So now you said that this all kind of started when you were kind of getting into crystals. So are you still into that stuff, or is that just something you kind of?
I still got some crystals. I went kind of like, I don't know, like manic when I started. So I like a lot of shit.
I feel that. I've gone manic on these things myself. I feel that.
Right. And as you know, crystals are not cheap all the time.
No, they're not.
So I had sold a lot of and I did that for my oddities too, because I kind of went haywire there as well. Yeah. I kind of sold a lot of some of that, like the stuff where I'm like, oh, I could get that again, or, but I do have like some crystals left that I really like. I really love Labradorite.
Me too.
I don't really know what they mean.
Well, I mean, Labradorite is my personal crystal of the year because it's a very, so at the beginning of the year, I like to set myself up with a crystal of the year and a kind of a theme of the year. So this year was all about Labradorite and all about intuition. It's a kind of like an intuitive stone, a psychic stone, and it just has that flash to it, and it just has that like magical energy to it. And I just want to like emit that magical energy from myself. And so that's kind of why I took that stone. But I was trying to my husband's dealing with some real estate stuff. He does real estate on the side. and he needed a lot of power today. And so I was like, hey, maybe you should hold this piece of malachite in your pocket today. And he's like, oh my God, Ashleigh. He was dying. When I walked in, he was like making some business phone calls right before we got on. And I was like, walked into the room and I had my whole get up and go on. He's just like, he just looks around. His eyes are like, what is it? I'm like, you're making important business. What?
Channeling the energy.
I just have to channel the energy. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, you know how I am. I've been like this since day one. It's just gotten really, like, I've really gone unhinged in the last, like, however many months. It's like really unhinged. But I think everybody benefits from it because it's like unhinged in like a fun way, not in like I'm having a psychotic meltdown way. Well, maybe both. I don't know. We'll see. Well, this has been super fun, Todd. I really appreciate you coming on. And I appreciate that even though you have issues with anxiety and things like that, that you really pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone and did this, because we only grow when we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, right? And most of the time, if we do it, we don't regret it. At least I hope you don't regret this.
No, I've had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of, I guess I don't really post about myself, so it's nice to now.
Boy, there's low pictures of you on your Instagram.
There's a couple.
Oh, would I have to dig way back? You need to put your face on there. I am the face of Toddities.
Yeah, I think I just planned May 6th is my 4 years, so you keep an eye out. I'm going to do a post of me for once and just tell people about who I am.
So I think people are going to love that. It's so important. People want to know the face behind the creations. It's your story. You sell your story of your evolution, how you got there, where this all came from. It's interesting. This stuff doesn't just come out of nowhere.
Right. And of course, I'll share this so, people can see this. And I think there's a lot of crossover too. So maybe they'll, keep going to some of your other episodes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When I was chatting with some friends and people about doing this interview today, they weren't really sure how all this really fits together. And I said, oh, just you wait. It does. Yes, it does. It all fits together perfectly. It just all falls under the big crystal energy umbrella. We are all about limiting ourselves here. We're all about expansiveness and exploring things. And so it's been super fun. So where can listeners find your work and follow you?
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's Toddities. Trying to think of what it is on there. Toddities Animal Preservation.
I think that's correct.
At Facebook. And then I think it's just Toddities on TikTok.
Okay. And do you have any upcoming projects or markets or anything that you want to tell our lovely people about?
The end of this month, the 24th and 25th, I'll be in Minneapolis at the Oddities and Curiosities, and middle of July. Yeah, July 19th and 20th, I'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and that's August 23rd and 24th, I'll be in Pittsburgh, PA.
Fun. Well, if I was on that side of the country, I'd definitely come and meet you in person, but maybe one of these days I will make my way out to Wisconsin. I don't think I've ever been to Wisconsin before.
Yeah, it's all right. It's pretty.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's just one of the, I've been to a lot of the states, but that's one I have not, made my way through. So if I get out that way or I am in the area of any of your oddity shows, I'm going to come and track you down and I'm going to say hello.
Yeah, or maybe I'll make it out.
Yeah, you got to come out this way. Come out west. People always think this is the land of the crazy people, but not so much. Not where I live. I feel like I live in like the Midwest. I live in like the Midwest of California. There's, you think of California, you think of Hollywood and LA and like San Francisco. And then I'm like, no, I live in like Cowtown of California. All right. Well, it's been so fun. Everybody check out Todd online. He's on all the platforms, and go to his Etsy shop and buy his oddities because they are fabulous. And yeah, all right, Todd, it's been super fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Todd, thank you so much for stepping into the crystal cave of weird and wonderful with us today. Your work is a beautiful reminder that magic can be found in the most unexpected places. even in the preserved forms of tiny reptiles dressed as mystics, mob wives, and otherworldly beings. Here at Big Crystal Energy, we believe that mystical isn't just something you tap into on the full moon. It's something you live, breathe, and create with intention, humor, and heart. And Todd, you embody that beautifully. For everyone listening, let this be your permission slip to honor the odd, follow your fascinations, and embrace the parts of you that maybe feel a little spooky or strange, because that's where the real magic lives. Stay weird, stay witchy, and keep your energy big. Bye! Thank you so much for jumping down the rabbit hole with me. If you connected with this episode in any way, I would love it if you could share it with a friend. Also, please tag me on social media. I'm at mystical.mama.ash or at Big Crystal Energy Podcast, mostly on Instagram. It helps so much getting my episodes out there and finding more magical, kooky, and spooky friends. Sending you all Big Crystal Energy. Cheers!